Welcome back, y'all. It is a Drunk Capitalist here, and today we're about to watch a news video about evictions happening in Atlanta. Now, evictions are happening all across the country now that the eviction ban has been lifted in various states around the country, and now we're seeing what the results are really looking like over the past couple of months. So let's watch this story coming out of Atlanta.
Estimated 12,000 tenants in Atlanta who are behind on rent have gotten eviction letters.
A housing official asked Atlanta City Council members to find a way to help. Fox 5's Morris Diggs explains the evictions have restarted after a pause during the pandemic.
Yeah, so the pause lasted over 3 years. So there are people that are behind on rent, and the estimate right now so far is about 12,000 people in Atlanta behind on rent. So now I can't really judge these people and say like, oh, you should have been able to save all this money by now, because here's the thing, depending on the situation, it might have been hard. We can only judge everybody on an individual basis based on their individual actions and their individual options. So we're not about to judge everybody for being evicted, not about to laugh at them or make fun of them, because it's a real serious thing, and it's very, very bad for your city if you have a large portion of people that are evicted and on the streets, and it puts a lot of pressure on social services, and in turn it puts a pressure on the people that haven't been evicted that are still working, because it's probably going to increase their taxes in the long term.
Family member who's been evicted, well, the financial strain they face, that's obvious. But there's also an emotional burden. For example, when a school-age child is pulled out of the classroom, the parents got to find another place, or worse, a shelter. You don't have to fall under the legal definition of poverty to have all your belongings put out on the street because you got way behind on the rent.
Filings have ramped up the mounting number of evictions in Fulton and DeKalb counties.
This Atlanta Housing Commission official estimates 12,000 tenants have been or are now under an eviction threat. The pause on legal filings did not erase a rent balance, and being forced from the home can turn lives upside down.
And have to move out of their school districts, right? Can't attend the same school. That disruption is a huge inhibitor for educational attainment for kids.
This is the first time they got me down for eviction.
A senior living in this large complex has a different circumstance. Veronica Showers explained to her landlord about a series of personal setbacks.
I do security. I worked every day, but it's like I was just working for nothing. Every time I got paid, they went in, they was getting the loans.
How many months are you behind?
Lord have mercy, 11,000 something.
Andrew Snegenberger said late fees and other charges keep residents even further behind. He says new government.
So here's my thing, is like, one of the things you have to point out is that as much as it really pains people to have to like be evicted and things like that, most landlords, if you're paying your rent, they're not interested in evicting you. Like in generally, like 90% of the time, they're not interested in evicting you if you are paying your rent, even if you might be late. But the problem that we ran into when the government created the moratorium is that for some people, it gave them the feeling that they didn't have to pay the rent. So they ended up being backed up on the rent and spending that money probably. And now that the moratorium is gone, they're so backed up, and it's possible that they didn't even start paying that rent earlier this year and like show the landlord like, hey, I am paying the rent. I may have ran into some financial issues. I am paying the rent. I think this woman probably is going through that same situation right now where she couldn't pay the rent, but she's working still, so she is paying the rent. She's just really behind. But there are going to be people that took the moratorium and took advantage of the situation. But what I really want to talk about is the fact that whether or not it's your fault or not for why you couldn't pay the rent, it still is a burden to the person that owns the property. Because here's the thing, if the mortgage isn't paid, nobody can live there, right? The bank is taking it from the landlord, and in effect is also taking it away from you. So if the landlord is trying to hold on to the property and they're evicting you, even as a paying tenant, it's probably because they're trying to find a way to get this mortgage paid. And it's tough. Like, it's really tough. Like, a lot of landlords currently and in the past have lost their properties because their tenants didn't make the payments. And I know people are saying, well, they shouldn't own the properties. People should be able to buy properties, but it's really not that simple, because a lot of the people that you're saying should own the properties and the property should be available to be bought by them, they can't save up the necessary down payment that it would take to own that property. They can't afford it. They can't afford the repairs on that property. They would lose the property anyway. Like, so they would live there temporarily, and then a sheriff would come to their house and put a lock on the property because the bank has to take it, because they can't afford to even maintain that property. That's one of the things that people ignore about the position of landlords and property owners, is that they're responsible for maintaining those properties. When your toilet goes wrong as a renter, you don't have to worry about replacing the toilet. You don't have to worry about hiring a plumber. The property owner has to worry about those things. So I think it's just bad all around for everyone, and people are looking to place blame. But again, I think the government is to blame. Like, there could have been a better idea in regards to this. Like, they really could have been a better idea. Like, as far as the moratorium, I don't know. I feel like there could have been better things. There could have been better contracts or deals made out for people that were facing harsh financial times.
Government assistance is needed.
And it's good practice to make sure that the two branches of government are working in coordination to make sure that we're spending money as well as we can.
One of the members, Antonio Lewis, reminded the body that not too long ago, the city had to give back federal funding, $10 million, that was intended for housing. From Northeast Atlanta, I'm Morris Diggs, Fox 5 News.
And that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.